Over the past few months, residents of Lakshadweep have expressed their outrage against a new set of regulations that could drastically change their lives. These new reforms for development, as they are called, range from banning the consumption of beef to land development plans that could potentially lead to the eviction of the residents of Lakshadweep. These regulations have been introduced by the new administrator of the islands, Praful Khoda Patel, a former Gujarat MLA who has close ties with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. With no public consultation, Patel introduced reforms such as the Lakshadweep Development Authority Regulation, Animal Preservation Regulation, an amendment to the Lakshadweep Panchayat Staff Rules, and topped it all off with the draconian Lakshadweep Prevention of Anti-Social Activities Regulation. In other words, the Goonda Act. What needs to be noted is that the crime rate in the islands is one of the lowest in the entire country. And all of this is happening in the middle of a pandemic. A pandemic which Lakshadweep was unaffected by, with 0 cases until January this year. So what changed? Well, the arrival of Administrator Patel in December, who relaxed the quarantine and testing rules of the islands. Where previously tourists had to mandatorily quarantine for 14 days, now they only had to show a negative RT-PCR report. Today, Lakshadweep has more than 7,000 cases of COVID-19, nearly 1/10 of the island's population. One of the most widely condemned rules introduced by Patel is the Development Authority Regulation. This reform is intended to pave the way for orderly and progressive development of land in both urban and rural areas, and to preserve and improve the amenities thereof, for the grant of permission to develop land, and for other powers of control over the use of land, to confer additional powers in respect of the acquisition and development of land for planning. What exactly does the draft mean by development here? Well, according to the draft regulation, development is defined as building, engineering, mining, quarrying, and other such operations in, on, over, or under land, the cutting of a hill or any portion thereof, or the making of any material change in any building or land. All of this on islands that are deemed as ecologically sensitive. But that's not all. The regulation will give the government, or in this case, the administrator, the power to constitute planning and development authorities. These authorities will plan the development of any areas identified as having a bad layout or obsolete development. Towards that objective, the authorities will have the power to evict anyone who occupies land in contravention to the plan formulated by the authorities. If the Planning and Development Authority is opposed or impeded in evicting such person or taking possession of the land from such person, the district magistrate shall, at the request of the Planning and Development Authority, enforce the eviction of such person or secure delivery of possession of land to the Planning and Development Authority, the draft says. Aside from the possibility of eviction and this concept of development, the islanders also face a drastic change when it comes to their consumption of food. The Lakshadweep Animal Preservation Regulation proposes a ban on beef. The regulation empowers the administrator or a competent authority to seize beef or beef products being transported, and anyone found with beef could be jailed for anywhere between 7 to 10 years, along with a fine of 1 to 5 lakh rupees. And while a ban on beef is being proposed, the ban on liquor sales is being removed. In a union territory where there was no ban on beef before, where alcohol consumption was prohibited culturally and religiously given the 90% Muslim population, a regulation like this has deepened the discontentment amongst the people. Add to this is the regulation which will affect their chances of even gaining electoral power. One of the proposed laws is the disqualification of Panchayat poll candidates if they have more than 2 children. The law, if passed, will essentially disqualify several prominent leaders from participating in the Panchayat polls of Lakshadweep. To top it all off, the administrator has introduced the Anti-Social Activities Regulation for Lakshadweep. which essentially empowers the administration to detain anyone for up to 1 year without public disclosure. Why in a union territory with the lowest crime rates would such a regulation be necessary is a question on everyone's minds. The regulation that Patel is introducing have received widespread condemnation. Apart from the residents of the islands, several leaders have expressed their discontentment with the events that have unfolded over the past few months. Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan, took to Twitter to express his criticism, saying news reports from Lakshadweep are quite serious. Challenges imposed on their lives, livelihoods, and culture cannot be accepted. Kerala has a strong relationship, a long history of cooperation with Lakshadweep. Unequivocally condemned devious efforts to thwart it. Perpetrators should desist. In a series of tweets, Priyanka Gandhi, General Secretary of the Indian National Congress, also expressed her condemnation at the events. The people of Lakshadweep deeply understand and honor the rich natural and cultural heritage of the islands they inhabit. They have always protected and nurtured it. The BJP government and its administration have no business to destroy this heritage or to harass the people. The BJP unit in Lakshadweep has responded by saying that a false propaganda has been unleashed against the administrator by opposition parties as part of their campaign against the Narendra Modi-led government. Meanwhile, 8 office bearers of the unit have resigned from the party in protest against the regulations being introduced by the administrator. The regulations introduced by Praful Patel raise several questions. Why were the islanders of Lakshadweep not consulted before these reforms came to be proposed? Why the sudden attempt to ban beef? After all, there are other BJP states where the consumption of beef is legalized, like Assam, Goa, and Manipur. Why has alcohol suddenly been allowed in a region culturally and religiously opposed to it? Most crucial, why is there a sudden push for a development strategy that could drastically affect an ecologically sensitive island? While these questions are yet to be answered, anger among the locals at these sudden changes affecting their lives continues to grow.
Go back! Go back! Go back! Go back! Go back! Go back! Go back!
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.